afternoon. This is the knitting news from Knit Happens Teesside for, well, as long as it's been since the last time I did a little video, which is longer than it should be, but been a bit busy and still am really. So what's been happening at knitting? Well, this is what Andy made, and it's a drops pattern, and it's Serdar dual spun chunky, and it's 80% acrylic and 20% wool, so it's soft and it'll be warm, but it'll wash all right. So I think that the first pattern, the pattern at the top, is how the pattern was, and she just got a little bit bored and changed the pattern as it went down. Anyway, as you can see, that she gave it to me, and I'm really happy with it. Sorry, I'm looking over there because one of our pets is over there, but I'll tell you about pets later. And you can probably hear one in the background. So I have recorded all of this once, but when you listen back, the sound's not very good. And it is better with these on. And actually, I wear these all the time when I'm listening to everybody else. And I go and answer the front door with them on, and even when it's customers or the postman or whatever, and I always get funny looks. So I can hear you. They're not noise cancelling. Anyhow, I think these make it a bit clearer. So Andy made this, which is great. She's been making she bought a little set of mini skeins to do Fair Isle, all like pastel shades. And she made kind of a cowl, which is two sides are both Fair Isle. Unless you just turned it over. I don't really know. I have to ask how she did that. I don't know I think it was double knitting, sort of double-sided knitting. Anyway, it was absolutely beautiful. So I think she gave that one to Helen. And she made another one that she's going to give to another friend. And that's got buttons on. And she made the buttons she did a sample or something that she pulled back because she didn't like it. So when she pulled it back, she felted it into balls and made buttons that are all like Fair Isle little bits of the same colour. So I thought that was absolutely fantastic. Really good. She always comes up with something really inventive. So Jill and Fee have both been knitting with Old Ladies Knickers Pink shade yarn. Fee was making, and now hers is like your Shetland kind of jumper wool. So it's a little bit, it'll fluff up when it's been blocked. She was making a garter stitch shawl and randomly bobbling as she went along. Only when she looked at it, it wasn't really that random. It was quite a uniform bobble. And Jill was making a cardigan. She made a cardigan with hers, and it was a proper vintage pattern. It's all over lace. And it's one of those things, you know, when you finish and you're not quite sure about wearing it. Which might just be down to the seasons because it's now autumn. And, well, it's been a very warm autumn so far, but the last couple of days have been freezing cold. So that was what she was doing. Well, I was doing this knitting. And really now I just need to get this square done so I can have my needle back. You see, the thing is, you know, if you were to go to a restaurant and order a big steak, and right over there on the other side there's somebody who's a vegetarian, or even a couple of them, or maybe probably 3 at the most, and they decide that they'd be super offended and distraught even if you were to eat a steak on the other side of the restaurant. So the chef or the restaurant manager decides that maybe he doesn't want a bad review, so he's going to make everybody eat veggie burgers instead of a nice juicy steak. So maybe that's how I feel about that. Other knit-alongs are available. The online free knitting magazine, Blocked magazine, in that one, which is block tissue 10, which is the latest one, I'm quite certain that there's a list of knit-alongs. So you could always do one of them instead. I have got one that I'm doing. Only I don't know where I've put it. It was here a minute ago when I was recording with... Oh, there. Here we go. Sorry. The Puritanical Knitting Fun Run is, as Puritans, we would consider that this would be a bit too flashy, but it will be mostly black, which is the whole point of the knit-along, is to knit with your black yarn. And I did have some black planned, which I showed you last time. Actually, it goes with this, so if it gets very cold, I could just wear them both together. I'm really pleased with it. So it's back to this probably, and maybe one or two of my other unfinished items. And I've also been to 3 yarn festivals this year already, and I'm going to another one soon. So there's all sorts of little bits and bobs from them that I could be knitting too. So just need to get my needle back out of that other one. That's the plan. So I haven't told you about Helen. Helen was making, well, Helen's been doing all little bits of nice little things. She made some little sweaters and she put a friend's initials on. So that's sort of like personalised bunting. And she's made a wreath. She made the wreath herself at a willow workshop. And on the wreath, she's putting all the pumpkins and the autumn leaves in, and she's crocheting them. And I think there's a little mouse on it somewhere. So that's going to be lovely, isn't it? All homemade. I thought that was really nice. Right. So the next section is a new section, which is all about my new pen pal. So if you're not interested in knowing a bit more about me other things that aren't knitting, well, you can always switch it off, can't you? So my new pen pal is Jo Bob, who lives in Australia, and she podcasts on the Knit Night podcast, which is knit and then night is NITE. And there's quite a few of them all get together and podcast and chat, so it's like a knitting group. It's online and it's live, but they're on late, which I've told you before. But you can always catch up with them. But it's better live, isn't it? Because you can like participate in the chat and things. So Jo Bob and I are now pen pals, or video pals, we might say. And she asked me a few questions and told me a few things about herself. So, colours. I like greens and blues, as in this top. And I like purples and pinks and purpley blues. All of those sort of colours. So I haven't got a specific favourite colour. I quite like the number 2. I don't know if it's lucky for me or not. It might be. Pets. Jo Bob, how many dogs have you got? I was thinking, you see, if you're in Australia, you're not going to be sledging through the snow, are you? So I was just wondering what kind of dogs they are, because, well, they're perhaps not huskies. I wish I had 3 lambs in my living room. I've got 1 parrot in my living room, which I dare say probably isn't quite as noisy as your lambs. And you might be able to hear it now, I'm not sure. But she's rattling on downstairs. She doesn't talk. She's called Poppy. She does burp noises and pumping noises and meows. And the one that she's doing now, if you can hear it, she goes meow, which is quite funny. We've got an elderly guinea pig called Elsie. Elsie was named after my nanny, who taught me how to knit and crochet. A wonderful old lady. Very nice little old lady who used to make her all her own clothes because she couldn't get them quite the right shape, and she used to grow beans and things in the garden. She used to knit and sew, and she was just lovely. So that was Elsie. there's Amber the tortoise, who's knocking about somewhere at the moment, because I don't know if Amber's thinking that maybe she should be hibernating, but she lives in a vivarium, so she doesn't have to. So she's been rattling around all morning. So I gave her a little bath, and she was rattling around in the bath as well. This is coffee, black coffee. So that's, oh, and there's the parrot, tortoise, guinea pig, 2 dogs. Lottie's the Bedlington Terrier, and she's great. She's 11 and she's on HRT. And she's got a refound youth. She's quite funny. Roxy, the other one, she's a Bedlington Whippet, the blonde one. She's hairy and blonde. And she's a bit of a nuisance because she likes to whine and moan. She gets under your feet and she follows you around and all the rest of it. But she's very sweet as well. So they all live in the house. In the garden, we've got a pond. And we've had the pond for a while. And then we inherited 4 goldfish. And they used to just sort of swim along on the top like that. Anyway, the heron came one day. Well, there's also a tench. Tench is about that big. I don't know if you can tell how big that big is on the screen. It's about, he was about 25 centimetres long and grey and likes to hang out in the mud at the bottom. So the heron came along, I think, because we didn't see it, but they just all disappeared. So that must be what happened. Anyway, they didn't get the tench. So we now call him Slim Shady. We've got 4 rudd also, and we had 5, but Jack Sparrow died because, well, he only had 1 eye, and I don't quite know what was wrong with him. So he passed away, and we've only got 4. So actually I'd be open to having names. If anybody's got any name suggestions for fish in my pond, that would be nice. Not the names of the beetles, because I had my beetle phase, but I've come through the other side. And not the 4 names of the ABBA singers, whatever they are, because I probably couldn't pronounce them anyway. And I've also had my ABBA phase and come out the other side. So any other 4 names will be fine. Be lovely, yeah. So that's the pets. I've got a little bit of a list here, but I am wearing the wrong glasses because these don't reflect as much. I don't do any voluntary work. I haven't really got the time for that at the moment. Some mothers do have them. Now, it's funny you mentioned that, Joe Bob, because my husband is a mixture of, what's he called, Frank Spencer and Mr. Bean. I mean, he's handsome and all that, but he had Mr. Bean's mini and a tweed jacket before Mr. Bean did. And he does tend to be a bit calamitous like Frank Spencer. So he's endlessly amusing. So the last time, was it the last time or the time before that, when we went away in our van, we went to put air in the tyres and they let the first one down. Which was quite good because our son locked himself out of the house, so he had to come and pick up a key because we were going away and he didn't have his key with him. He's only 25. So, what did you do to blow your sewing machine up? I mean, I've done so much sewing, I've never blown a sewing machine up. I thought maybe you'd been sewing horse blankets or saddles or something like that. And that's why it blew up. I think that's just about all the things you've asked me. So it was really great to hear from you. Every time I heard from you. And I hope you've enjoyed my reply, and speak again soon. Only you'll probably speak sooner than me. I'll try. So for now, I think that's just about it. So more news maybe next week.